Tonight, we offer you this scene. High above a street in the West 80s of Manhattan, in the darkened living room of an expensive apartment, a man lies propped up by pillows on a divan, staring into the blackness. His only companions are his thoughts. The only movement in the room, the pendulum of a grandfather's clock.
These are the worst hours of all, when all I can hear is that clock, ticking away the seconds of my life. Daytime is bad, because I can see the world going on about its business, as if life would never end. But the dark hours are the worst, when the streets are finally quiet and I'm sick of television and all I can do is lie in bed listening to my failing heart. And I don't have anything to take my mind off what's going to happen to me. But that clock, that clock will outlive me and keep right on ticking forever, just as long as somebody keeps winding it. Hello?
Charles Candlewyck?
Yes, this is Charles Candlewyck. Who's this?
Well, you don't know me. My name is Reuben MARGOLAS.
Yes? Is that supposed to mean something to me?
Well, not to you.
And just why would you be calling an utter stranger in the middle of the night, Mr. Margolis? The clock says it's 5 minutes of 2.
No, I'm sorry. It was thoughtless of me. I took a chance that you might not be asleep. But I've disturbed you, and I'm sorry, so please forget the call.
No, wait a minute. Not so fast. Tell me what you want.
Well, I'm a research biologist at Brookhaven National Laboratories on Long Island. I was working late.
Brookhaven? That's the atomic lab?
Yes, that's right.
Well, how'd you get my name?
Well, this is all highly irregular. We only have the code numbers to identify the specimens we're working with. They're very careful about that.
Specimens? What specimens?
Of the tissue we're working with. But when I found something in the batch I was studying, I did some backtracking and found out where they came from. Then I just checked the New York directories, and there was only one Charles Candlewyck. So I dialed you up because...
You have samples of my tissue? Why?
Well, it's a rather long story, but the upshot of it is, well, I know you're a pretty sick man.
Well, thanks for telling me.
But you're also a very lucky man. I've been conducting a long-term experiment, Mr. Candlewick, using tissue taken from your bypass operation.
But that was 12 years ago.
I've kept your specimens alive.
Why?
I needed living coronary artery tissue for an experiment on combating aging. For 12 years, a part of you has been alive in my lab, growing stronger, repairing itself. Tonight, I believe I have completed the computer model. Then I checked it again twice to make sure.
To make sure of what?
Mr. Candlewick, how would you like to live forever?
The Candlewick Particle, starring Doug Smith and Derek Turner. Our tale continues immediately following this message. And now, the Candlewick Particle.
Naturally, a dying man grasps at any hope at all. This call from Dr. Margolis was a bolt from the blue. After we hung up, sleep was impossible. I didn't want to sleep. I wanted to jump and dance, but I knew I couldn't. I had to stay alive until Margolis could do, well, whatever it was he needed to do for me. At 9:30, someone in the lobby rang my apartment. Who is it?
Dr. Binns. Thought I'd stop by and see how you're doing.
Ah, what perfect timing. Come on up, Doctor. I've got something to ask you. And something to tell you. It was fate. Margot Binns is the most respected cardiologist in New York, and she's the one who told me to sell my business and enjoy the last few months of my life. Well, I may surprise her.
You're not serious.
Oh, yes, I am.
He actually promised that you'd live forever? I'm sorry, Mr. Candlewick. You know better than to believe a thing like that.
Why else would he call at 2 in the morning? The man had just finished his experiments. He knew my time was running out. He wanted to get to me while there's still time.
Wait just a minute. Calm down a minute, Mr. Candlewyck. Did he ask you for money?
No, he didn't ask for money.
Well, did you make a date to meet him?
Of course I did. We're going to have a long talk, and he's going to explain the whole procedure to me.
I'd like to be in on that.
Well, I doubt if he'd agree to that. He told me he's had to conduct his entire experiment in secret because the government would swoop down on him and he'd lose everything.
Mr. Candlewyck, please, listen to reason. It's perfectly natural that a man in your position would...
Grasp at any hope for survival? Yes, I expected that. What did you give me, 6 months?
Well, I said 6 months to a year. We can't be precise, but to hang your hopes on some miracle or some breakthrough, that's just plain cruel. Don't do it to yourself. Get the most out of the time you have left.
And don't embarrass you by living on and on beyond your 6-month deadline. Oh, I know how you doctors are.
Well, I stopped by to see if there was anything I could do for you, but apparently there isn't. That's all right. I can see myself out. Don't get yourself worked up emotionally, Mr. Candlewyck. Goodbye. Good luck.
Sore loser. That's what she was. Well, I didn't have any time for her anymore. At noon, Dr. Margolas said he'd be over to talk with me. The housekeeper made a special lunch for us, and then I shooed her out. I wanted to have Margolas and his secret all to myself. Because if he can do for me what he says he can do, the man is sitting on a gold mine. I'll finance him, yes. He'll win the Nobel, and I'll make us both billionaires. And I'll live to enjoy it. Dr. Margolas?
Mr. Candlewick.
Come in, come right in. So, where did we meet before?
Excuse me?
Where did we meet before? You look familiar.
We've never met before.
I'd have sworn I've seen you or someone who looks like you. You're young.
45.
You look 35.
Well, in a strange way, I have you to thank for that.
Me?
Yes.
Here, sit down.
Thank you.
Are you hungry?
No, not right now.
Fine. We'll just talk a little while. Now, where do we begin?
Now, you asked about my youthful appearance. It's because of the Candlewick particle.
The what?
That's what I'm calling it. I named it after you.
Well, that's very flattering, but what has that got to do with the way you look?
Well, you see, I experimented on myself when I established that there was a DNA particle in your cells that I'd never seen before, ever, that not only resisted aging, but killed off all of its biological enemies. I injected myself with it. That was 4 years ago. Here's an old driver's license with my picture on it from 4 years ago.
This is you?
Before I started injecting the Candlewick particle.
You look older, much older.
That's right. But since then, my body's been repairing itself, cell by cell. I had a detectable heart murmur ever since childhood, and it's gone. I used to have 2200 eyesight. Now it's 20/20.
You mean I've got this particle in my body?
Yes, you have. And you're the only individual I know of who has it. You could be the only person alive who has it.
Well, if I have this particle, why hasn't it repaired my heart damage? Yeah, my cardiologist was just here and still gives me 6 months to live.
Well, you see, the difference between the cells in your body and the cells in the tissue that I've been working on is the irradiation. I've irradiated the Candlewick particle. That seemed to turn on its own immune system. And since then, it's rebuilt itself, regenerated. I believe it's unstoppable.
When can I get it?
How about now?
You mean it?
I brought an ampule with me. I'll give you only a very small injection to begin with, then a weekly treatment. Inside of 2 months, your body will begin to...
Oh, wait a minute.
Yes?
Now I know where I've seen you before.
Where?
Just a minute. Sit right there. Yeah, here it is. Have a look.
Where did you find this? It's a picture of me.
No, it isn't. It's a picture of me 20 years ago when I was 45.
You're right. In these 4 years since I've been injecting the serum from your tissue, I'm turning into you. I knew I was getting younger looking, but I had no idea what you look like.
Doctor, when I take this serum, will it heal my heart?
Well, I'm not a cardiologist, but as it enters your blood, it should begin strengthening and renewing your whole system.
Then let's do it. Let's go for it.
Well, now, there's just one thing. I conducted this research on my own. Nobody knows a thing about it. If Brookhaven knew I'd been using their facilities on a private project, I'd be dismissed. So you've got to promise to tell no one about this.
Until it starts working on me.
No, I have to be careful not to go too far too fast.
Listen to me, Doc. If this stuff does what you say it does, you're going to be the most famous scientist in history. Einstein, the Curies, Sabin, nothing compared to you. Do you know what I did for a living before I had to quit? I was a trader on Wall Street. I made fortunes for other people as well as myself. Well, with this stuff, I will make you richer than you ever dreamed. So come on, Doctor. I want that shot. I figured, what did I have to lose? If it worked on me, I'd cheat death. If it didn't, I'd be no worse off than I was. Either way, there was no decision to make. Margolas took out a small vial and a syringe and gave me an injection in my arm. We talked a while, then he left. That was just about a year ago. All that time, he'd come up to my place every week to give me my injections, and I set up a fund for him so he could draw money whenever he needed it for his research. I was feeling great, sleeping good, eating well. I even began running. I've never done much of it, but it felt wonderful. I began to study myself in the mirror every day, several times a day, looking for changes. At first, I couldn't see any, but gradually, I began to notice my hair was coming back in, and my face was definitely growing younger. One day, I found myself near the office of my cardiologist, Dr. Margot Binns. As usual, she was booked, but when her receptionist gave her my name, she had me come in immediately.
Mr. Candlewyck, when I heard you were in the office, I was afraid that you were...
About to die on you? Take a look at your dying patient, Doctor.
I've never seen such a change.
And that's not all. I feel 10 years younger.
You look 10 years younger, but you look different.
Of course. Younger.
But I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. Are you doing something different with your hair?
I've got more of it.
Maybe that's it.
I made a lot of changes since I saw you last. But there'll be a lot more. We're going to patent the process and set up franchises worldwide.
And the biologist to develop the process?
Well, he'll be my partner.
Oh, so he's going to go public with it now.
Have to. When I submit his name for a Nobel.
Mr. Candlewyck, would you consent to an electrocardiogram?
Sure. Only I know what it'll say. I have no heart trouble. Well, I took the EKG, and it was funny to see Margot Binns' face when she began reading the traces. All she could find was a minor little heart murmur. She looked dazed as I left her office. I felt on top of the world. It was time I started talking business with Dr. Margolas. I'd never tried to call him at Brookhaven because he said he worked in a highly classified section of the labs, and he'd always called me to arrange the injections. But I looked up their number and got a hold of the information operator at the National Laboratory.
What was the name you were looking for?
Margolas. Dr. Reuben Margolas.
Just one moment, please. Sir, I'm connecting you with our Chief of Administration, Mr. Shipman.
Okay, that's fine.
This is James Shipman. May I help you?
Yes, I'm just trying to get a hold of Dr. Reuben Margolas, a biologist with your outfit.
Dr. Margolis isn't here. He's dead.
He's dead?
Yes. Died, 10 years ago or so, I'd say.
No. This is a younger man, mid-40s, looks about 35.
Well, the only Reuben Margolas who ever worked here at Brookhaven was killed about 10 years ago.
Killed?
Murdered. They never did find who did it.
The concluding moments of the Candlewick particle will follow these messages. And now, the concluding act of the Candlewick particle.
My regular day for the injection came and went, and I didn't hear from Dr. Margolis. I was afraid something had happened to him. Maybe the government had found out about his project and grabbed him like he feared would happen. And I was afraid something would happen to me, that my changes would stop happening without the injections, that I'd start to slide back to my sick old self. But I needn't have worried. The process was accelerating. I could feel it. My skin tingled constantly. I had sharp little pains in my muscles, growing pains he had called them. But they were almost constant now. And each time I looked at myself in the mirror, I was growing more and more into a combination of myself as I was 20 years ago and the way Margolis looked now. 2 weeks passed. 3 weeks. And then, when it had been 1 month since my last injection... Yes, who is it?
It's me. Let me come up.
Reuben, thank God. I'd about given you up. Sure, I'll unlock the lobby door. It seemed to take the elevator forever to climb to the 52nd floor. But at last, Margolis knocked on my door, and I hurried over to let him in. Oh, Reuben, you look different. Oh, you have someone with you.
Lieutenant Kern, NYPD, Homicide Squad. Mind if we come in?
No, come in. But Reuben, are you in some kind of trouble?
It's no good, Jack. Lieutenant Kern knows everything.
Why are you calling me Jack?
I told him how you'd been giving me these injections.
What?
You can drop it now, Doctor. I'm sorry. They have the goods on you, I'm afraid.
Is this some kind of a joke?
No joke, Doctor. You used to work for Brookhaven Labs on Long Island?
No, that was Margolis. What are you talking about?
Talking about murder. The murder of Dr. Reuben Margolis.
Look, this is Dr. Reuben Margolis.
This is Charles Candlewyck.
I am Charles Candlewick.
I don't think so. You're a biologist named Jack Hamilton. You worked in the lab under Dr. Margolis. Margolis was privately working on a serum to extend life. You killed him and stole his work.
That's outrageous!
Well, we can clear this up down at headquarters. Your fingerprints and Margolis's are both on file at Brookhaven, but I don't need to check prints. We have pictures of Jack Hamilton, and that's you.
Listen to me. The man you think is me is this man. The man I knew as Margolis. He's the one who stole the serum. He's been injecting me with it, and it's been making me younger, but it's changed the way I look. It's changed me to look like he looks, like he used to look. What have you done to yourself, Reuben?
It's a good act, Hamilton, but not good enough.
What have you done to me?
Take it easy. Get your stuff. We need to get you down to headquarters. I'm sure Mr. Candlewick would like to move back into his apartment. Nice place you got here, Candlewick.
Oh, yes. I like it.
Of course, now I know what really happened. The man I knew as Margolis was Jack Hamilton. He used cells from my body mixed with his to make the serum he was giving me. But he used only my cells in the serum he was taking himself. So as I grew younger looking and more like him, he took on my original features. Fingerprints, everything. Even my memories. And I received his. And I'll have them as long as I live. Which could be forever.
The court is ready to impose sentence. Jack Hamilton, alias Dr. Reuben Margolis, having been found guilty of murder in the first degree, I hereby sentence you to New York State Prison for the rest of your natural life. Court adjourned.
The Candlewyck Particle was directed by Pat French and was written and produced by Jim French and featured Doug Smith, Derek Turner, Lee Wheeler, Terry McDonnell, Kathleen Warren, Jay Green, and Bob Pittman. Sound created by Stuart, Conway, and Bruce Rogerson. Audio mixing by Peggy Stokes. The program was recorded before a live audience in Seattle. I'm Terry Rose.